The entire compilation of words and letter combinations commonly known as the Holy Bible King James Version is hereby restated in its entirety, and incorporated herein, as if set forth in full with plenary force, effect and effect. Things do not change their ownership when captured by pirates and robbers. Expect from others the same treatment that they receive from you. Absolute power in all things lawful. An accessory does not lead, but follows his principle. External actions show the secret intentions. An action is the right of prosecuting to judgment that which is one's due. Acts indicate the intention. An act done without my consent is not my act. An admiralty court has no jurisdiction over those questions which are determined by the common law. It is the duty of justices to administer justice to everyone seeking it from him. Equity acts upon the person. Equity supplies defects. Equity remedies errors. Equity is the correction of law, when too general, in the part in which it is defective. Equity is a kind of perfect reason which interprets and amends the written law, comprehended in no code, but consistent with reason alone. Equity assists ignorance, but not carelessness. Jurisdiction is not confounded by equity. Equity will not assist unless the occasion renders it necessary. Equity does not regard the form and circumstance, but rather the substance of the act. Equity is the daughter of truth, and the sister of goodness and justice. Equity desires by all means to arrive at the truth. Equity desires the spoiled, the deceived, and the ruined, above all things, to have restitution. What is just and right is the law of laws. He who affirms, not he who denies, must bear the burden of proof. He who affirms must prove. To conceal is one thing, to be silent another. He who alleges contradictory things is not to be heard. An ambiguous answer shall be construed against him who offers it. An argument from authority is very strong in law. The laws permit the taking arms against the armed. A twisting of language is unworthy of a judge. He is guilty of barratry who for money barters justice. It is the duty of a good judge to order judgment to be executed without delay. A good judge decides according to justice and right, and prefers equity to strict law. Necessary good is not good beyond the bounds of necessity. Causes of dower, life, liberty, revenue, are among the favorable things in law. The cause of the church is equal to public causes, and for the best of reasons, it is the cause of religion. Cease to reign, if you do not wish to adjudicate. A charter concerning a thing not in existence avails not. Those who sin secretly are punished more severely than those who sin openly. A college or incorporated body can only exist by consent of the sovereign. No man should derive any benefit from his own wrong. An agreement avails no one unless he is a party or privy to it. The law never permits anything contrary to truth. A contract should be understood according to the intention of the parties, expressed in words. A convention of private persons cannot affect public right. The crime of treason exceeds all other crimes as to its punishment. A human body is not susceptible of appraisement. Gross negligence is equivalent to fraud. Where the proofs of facts are present, what need is there of words? Time runs against the slothful and those who neglect their rights. There may be damage without injury. As to the proper name, it is not to be regarded, where it errs not in substance, because names are changeable, but things are immutable. Every man's house should be a perfectly safe refuge. Laws assist the deceived, not the deceiving. A delegated power cannot be delegated. A delegate cannot delegate. The power derived cannot be greater than that from which it is derived. Delays in law are odious. By fraud or dole a contract perishes. A deceiver deals in generalities. Deceit and fraud shall excuse or benefit no man. Deceit and fraud should always be remedied. Wrongful intention is presumed against one engaged in an unlawful act. To everyone his house is his surest refuge, or, every man's house is his castle. The law gives no more than is demanded. Right cannot die. The effect follows the cause. The proof lies upon him who affirms, not upon him who denies. Specification of one thing is an exclusion of the rest. In the same way in which anything is constituted, it may be destroyed. Equity suffers not a right without a remedy. An error which is not resisted is approved. To refer errors to their principles is to refute them. Violence may also put on the mask of the law. The meeting of the minds of two or more in an agreement makes a contract. No contract can arise. He who derives advantage from anyone should bear that person's obligations. There is no plea against an action which entirely destroys the plea. A foreigner has no lands, but only his personal effects, and life, and liberty. Facts are more powerful than words. An action of a judge, which relates not to his office, is of no force. No proof is incumbent upon him who denies a fact. False in one thing, false in all things. Things favorably considered in law are, the treasury, dower, life, and liberty. Felony is implied in every treason. Let justice be done though the heavens fall. Fiction yields to truth, where there is truth. Fiction of law does not exist. Fraud binds, but does not dissolve, perjury. It is a fraud to conceal a fraud. Fraud and deceit should benefit no one. Fraud and justice never dwell together. Fraud lies hidden in general expressions. Fraud is most hateful to law. He who offends against the law seeks in vain the help of the law. Man is a term of nature, person, of the civil law. Ignorance of those things which one is bound to know does not excuse. Ignorance of the law excuses no one, for all are presumed to know those things to which all consent. That which is not otherwise lawful, necessity makes lawful, and necessity makes a privilege which supersedes law. Impunity invites to greater crimes. No one may come into court with unclean hands. In things obvious there is no room for conjecture. In agreements the rule is to regard the intention of the contracting parties rather than their words. In criminal cases the silence of a person present presumes consent, in civil cases sometimes that of the person absent, and even ignorant where his interest lies, does the same. In favor of life, liberty, and innocence, all things are to be presumed. In a legal fiction equity always exists. He truly acts fraudulently who, observing the letter of the law, eludes its spirit. In law all things are always judged from their present condition. In criminal matters, the intention is regarded, not the event. In all contracts whether named or not, an exchange is understood. Equity is to be regarded in all things, but particularly in law. In presence of the major the minor power ceases. In a doubtful case the negative, rather than the affirmative, is to be understood. One may do with his own as he pleases, if he does not invade the rights of others. It is improper, unless the whole law be examined, to give judgment or advice upon a view of a single clause of it. It is unlawful to judge of any part unless the whole sentence be examined. The inclusion of one is the exclusion of another. Infinity in law is reprehensible. A man should not be benefited by his own wrongdoing. He is insane who, reason being thrown away, does everything with violence and rage. A hidden intention is bad. Among many things, you will even question laws and learned men. Among equals no one is the more powerful. The judge should decide according to the allegations and the proofs. To a judge who exceeds his office no obedience is due. It is the duty of a judge to decide according to the facts alleged and proved. It is the duty of a judge to declare, not to make the law. It is the duty of a judge to finish the work of each day within that day. It is a decision to favor those things that favor religion, though words be wanting. The laws of nature are unchangeable. Jurors ought to be neighbors, of sufficient estate, and free from suspicion. By the law of nature it is just that no one become more rich by the detriment and injury of another. Civil law is that which each nation has established for itself. Law is the science of the good and the just. Law is a rule of right, and whatever is contrary to the rule of right, is an injury. Right and fraud never dwell together. Natural right is that which has the same power among all men. The law of nature is properly the dictate of right reason, by which we know what is dishonest and what is honest, what should be done and what avoided. It is not safe to obey him who has no right. A public law cannot be changed by the agreement of private parties. The form of taking an oath differs in words, yet agrees in meaning, for it ought to have this sense, that the deity be invoked. An oath made among others should neither harm nor profit. Justice ought to be unbought, because nothing is more hateful than venal justice, free, for justice should not shut out, and quick, for delay is a sort of denial. Justice is an excellent virtue, and pleasing to the Most High. Justice should be denied to no one. Justice is not to be denied, nor delayed. Justice knows neither father nor mother, justice regards truth alone. Where the law gives a thing, it gives a remedy to recover. The law favors the life of an man. Willful negligence is equal to deceit. Law favoreth honor and order. Law favoureth justice and right. Law favoureth life, liberty, and dower. Law favoureth truth, faith, and certainty. Law hateth wrong. The contract makes the law. The law of God and the law of the land are all one. Human laws are born, live, and die. The laws of nature are perfect and immutable, but the condition of human law tends always to infinity, and there is nothing in it that can continue perpetually. Laws should bind those who make them. Laws aid the vigilant, not the negligent. Laws imposed by the state failing, we must act by the law of nature. Fictions arise from the law, and not the law from fictions. The law delights in equity, it covets perfection, it is a rule of right. The law always abhors delays. An unjust law is not a law. The law works harm to no one, and does no one an injury. The law forces not to impossibilities. The law does not require that which is apparent to the court to be verified. The law is the more praised when it is consonant to reason. Law will always give a remedy. The law always intends what is agreeable to reason. The law regards the order of nature. The law assists the ignorant. The law speaks to all with one mouth. Law assists the wakeful, not the sleeping. Liberty is an inestimable thing. Liberty is the right to alienate or restrain one's own right. Liberty has no price. Liberty is more favored than all things. The civil laws reduce an ungrateful freeman to his original slavery, but the laws of England regard a male once manumitted as ever after free. The body of a freeman does not admit of evaluation. Everyone is free to ascertain for himself, or to have recourse to counsel. Natural allegiance is restrained by no barriers, curbed by no bounds, compressed by no limits. Long possession produces the right of possession, and takes away an action from the true owner. Long time and long use, which exceeds the memory of man, suffices in law. Speak as the ordinary people, think as the learned. Great neglect is equivalent to fraud. Evil deeds should not remain unpunished, and impunity affords continual incitement to the delinquent. The more common an evil is, the worse. Things manifest need no proof. A maxim is so called because its dignity is chiefest, and its authority the most certain, and because it is universally approved by all. Force and injury are chiefly contrary to peace. It is better to suffer every wrong than to consent to wrong. The term merchandise belongs to movable things only. Men are not included under the name of merchandise. He justly loses the benefit of the law who purposes to overturn the law itself. He threatens the innocent who spares the guilty. A minor cannot make oath. Custom and agreement overrule law. Monuments, which we call records, are the vestiges of truth and antiquity. Delay is reproved by law. A custom of the truest antiquity is to be retained. We are ignorant of many things that would not be hidden from us if the readings of old authors were familiar to us. Many things pertain not to human laws, but to divine jurisdiction. Multiplicity and indistinctness produce confusion, and questions, the more simple they are, the more lucid. 10 make a multitude. A multitude of ignorant persons destroys a court. Nature desires perfection, so does the law. Where the divinity is insulted, the case is unpardonable. That is necessary which cannot be otherwise. Necessity makes that lawful which otherwise is not lawful. Necessity gives a privilege with reference to private rights.